going to be using quinoa as our main ingredient for today. My name is Torie Fuller. I am the Healthy Heart Director and one of the registered dietitians here. With us today cooking is Morgan, who is the diabetes dietitian, and Shaina, who is a UCO dietetic intern with us this week. So we are going to each be doing a recipe, and we are going to be doing a quinoa cookie, a quinoa side dish with our tilapia. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our quinoa cookie.
All right, how many of you have actually had quinoa before? All right, how many of you used it in a cookie? No? Okay, so this is the first time for basically everyone? Okay, awesome. So we're just going to start off with some ingredients. The first one, we're going to do all of our wet ingredients first so we can mix it up and then slowly add all of our dry ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and do the egg. So why we kind of choose to do quinoa is that it's high in protein and high in fiber and low in carbs. This cookie for a tablespoon is 55 calories per cookie, so it's pretty good. How many of you guys like sweets? Almost everybody? Yeah, me too.
That's a rhetorical question.
Yeah. So I put the egg, I put 3 tablespoons of margarine and some Splenda, 1/4 cup of Splenda.
We're using Splenda to make it a little, more diabetic friendly, heart friendly, waistline friendly, all those things. So we're using our sugar substitute Splenda that I know maybe you're familiar with from our cooking demos.
We have a teaspoon of vanilla. Then we have our half a cup of gluten-free baking mix.
Oh yeah.
I'm putting it in a separate bowl since it's going to add up slowly.
Yeah, we just found this gluten-free baking mix at Fire Lake grocery store, and
What does it look like?
right here.
Okay.
So just gluten-free flour bin. It's kind of a tongue twister, but we just found this brand, and a little bit goes a long way. So lots in here. So we taste tested the cookies. They're pretty yummy.
Yeah, they are. 1 cup of oats.
So she's adding some oats. It's just I'll hold up your ingredients for you. Just the Quaker oats. We did the old-fashioned. You can also do the quick cooking.
And really they have gluten-free as well. We didn't find that at our local store, but that is also an option.
Oats typically are gluten-free, but they're usually processed in a plant that contains floured products as well. And so if you or someone you know that has to be gluten-free, like maybe they have celiac disease or an intolerance, look for the ones that say certified gluten-free, where they be processed separately. But if it's just for us, we're trying to eat a little healthier maybe, have a little lower glycemic index, these are just fine.
And then I have 1/4 of dark chocolate chips. And on the recipe, on the handout you guys have, it says mini chocolate chips, whichever one you guys want to use. Then I have the 2 cups of quinoa. So for a cup of quinoa, there's 8 grams of protein. And for a cup of quinoa, there's 2.5 grams of fiber. So a lot of good stuff.
We went ahead and cooked it beforehand to save a little time, but you can kind of see right here.
So after I blended it all together, I'm going to go ahead and start adding these dry ingredients and kind of slowly mix them in. So I'm just going to add a little bit, and then just putting about a tablespoon of the cookie dough on here, and then we're going to bake them.
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the fish while they start baking those cookies. How many of you like to eat seafood? Just a couple? Okay. What kind of seafood do you typically eat?
Anything.
Anything? Okay. Well, we're going to do tilapia today. We found a pretty simple recipe that can be done any night of the week. And so we found a lemon parsley recipe. And you can use any type of white kind of fish. Like this one called for tilapia, snapper, or flounder. Those would all be great options. We did tilapia. You can buy it fresh or frozen. And we went ahead and put down the foil with some olive oil. Or you can use spray, your cooking spray so it doesn't stick. And then we rinsed our fish and let it thaw earlier. And then we put it on the foil. And now all I do right now before I bake it is all I do is just sprinkle it with paprika with the freshwater fish, and about 3 ounces is a serving, so about the size of the palm of our hand is this serving. fat. About 3 to 4 ounces will have only 100 calories, but it's going to have about 22 grams of protein. That's a lot of protein. That's more than 15% of our daily needs. So if you don't necessarily get a lot of protein in your diet, or you don't like protein foods as much, this is a great option to get lots of protein in a little amount. And then tilapia is also very high in omega-3s, which are very good for our heart. Omega-3s help prevent heart attacks and strokes. I'm sure you've heard a lot about that. And then it's also very high in selenium, phosphorus, potassium, and vitamin B, niacin, or vitamin B12, niacin, and vitamin B6. And then phosphorus is helpful with our bones and our bone growth and keeping our bones strong, and so that's really important. And then selenium is great for so many things. Our brain, our skin, it actually helps your skin look softer, and selenium is also an antioxidant that can help reduce the risk of cancer, especially prostate cancer. Very low in carbohydrates. So if you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, it's very diabetic friendly. We're going to go ahead and make it, and then I'll show you how to make the dressing that goes on top. So this is all we put on top right now, and then afterwards, after it bakes, we add the lemon parsley.
Very just looks natural.
Okay, so now what we do is we add the rest of the ingredients in a mixing bowl. We'll kind of let them sit and saturate together. So if you are going to use an oil, an olive oil or canola oil is a better option. But you can always reduce this or use less, or just try to go without and just use some other seasonings to make it a lot less fat. 1/4 cup of olive oil. And then we also we'll use 1/2 teaspoon of lemon zest. So we've already zested some of the lemon, and I'm going to zest a little bit to show you how it works. We have our zester right here, and then we just put it up against the peel, and then it just peels it up like this.
And Morgan says she uses a grater at home to zest, which will work just fine.
I haven't invested in one of these yet, but
I've even, if I don't have a grater, just sliced it off a little bit and then chopped it up until it's tiny pieces with a knife. That's possible too.
can y'all smell this yet? It smells so good to me.
I didn't know what zest, I thought zest was the inside peel.
And you don't want to zest it too far. If you get the white part of it, that's really bitter. So you want to try to not get that white part as much as possible. You just want to get the yellow outside.
So I'm going to add about 1.5 teaspoons. We're tripling our recipe, so I'm just going to add about that much. Push that all that. It'll be yummy. And then I'm also going to add 2 tablespoons finely chopped parsley. And since we're adding a little more to the recipe, I'm just going to add produce on the lemon. We're going to squeeze the juice on the lemon. And then we're going to add this to the top of it. Let it sit for a little bit.
So we use parsley and dill and lemon for our seasoning today for the fish. The dill has kind of a citrus flavor to it, and then the lemon, of course, has a citrus flavor. And parsley is a very mild seasoning for anything you want to use. A lot of times with the tilapia, when I cook it at home, I feel like simple is sometimes the best way to cook it. And I really like basil because it, again, has that citrus flavor to it, and lemon, just squeeze some lemon over top of it as well. And that's really simple, really easy, and it tastes very fresh.
We like spicy in our house, and so we do a lot of blackened fish. We do a lot of paprika, cumin, red pepper, chili powder. We do this. My husband's from Texas, so
I'm going to be doing the last recipe, which is going to be the side dish for our fish recipe. So, something we were talking about earlier is one of the hardest parts with making a meal or when you're cooking is learning the different timing to get everything right, everything out at about the same time. So that's one of the reasons why we did the cookies first, and then the fish, because those take the longest to cook, and then now we're doing the side dish, which takes a little bit less time. So it's just something that you guys, play with and see. Another way that we made it a little bit faster is we cooked the quinoa ahead of time. So we went ahead and cooked the quinoa with the chicken broth instead of water like it says on the package. And we just cooked that up ahead of time. Another way to make it faster if you have limited time for now, all we're going to do is saute up all these nice pretty vegetables. So we're going to put a little bit of the olive oil again in the pan. The pan is nice and hot at medium high. And then we have our bell peppers, our zucchini, asparagus, anything else? Garlic goes in there. Okay. In here.
We're going to put the garlic, which Morgan has right here. We minced up the garlic ahead of time as well, and we're going to put that in the pan. In the past, we have used the little already minced garlic, but if you do it from fresh, it's going to have more nutrients in it. It's not seeped out into all of that liquid that's in that little jar. So we use the fresh today. We're just going to cook that up till it's a little bit softer, and we cut these up in a pretty small, fine chop so that it's similar size to the quinoa. If you had the little tiny quinoa and big pieces of vegetables, it wouldn't be as pleasing to the palate whenever you're eating it. So now we're going to put in the veggies. And we're just going to saute those up until they're nice and soft, cooked. And then we're going to not put seasoning salt or the sea salt in, which it calls for in the recipe, just another way to reduce your sodium intake. So we're just going to put the pepper in once those are cooked and tender. And then we're going to mix it with the quinoa and put the chives and the parsley in. So we have the parsley similar to what we had in our fish recipe, and then we have our chives. And our chives are actually from the garden. Here is some more that we had left over that we didn't chop of the chives from the garden. Our garden is doing fine. We were really worried about the rain, that it was going to flood like it did last year, but it's still doing pretty good. It has a little portion of it that's flooding, but the rest of it's doing pretty good. We planted most everything on the high side of the garden, so it's doing a lot better than it did last year so far. Hopefully it doesn't rain anymore. You know, we want rain, but not torrential rain like we have.
Smells great.
And we do have some produce that's ready to be harvested. We have chives, we have a ton of mint, we have some strawberries, we have a couple little strawberries. Oh, here they are. We have a couple little strawberries that we harvested when we harvested the chives yesterday. So we have some strawberries out there, and those are, you know, try to snatch them up before the birds do. So
I tried one today, and it was probably one of the best strawberries I've ever had.
yeah.
It was so fresh and citrusy. It was so yummy.
And then we have leafy lettuce that is going to be ready to be harvested really soon. And so those are things that are ready to be harvested right away. And then we have a whole bunch of other things that we've planted recently that will soon be ready to harvest. So we would love for everybody to come out and help with the garden and take home whatever you would like to take home for your family to eat as a way to get that produce into your meals as well. We have the garden open for everybody from on Tuesday and Thursday from 3 to 7. So that's the time period the gates will be open at the apiary for anybody to come in and help out. So one of the great things about quinoa is that it is it's a great source of the proteins. It has 6 grams of protein for a fourth a cup of dry, which should be about a half a cup or more of once you get it cooked because it absorbs. It's a nutrient-rich superfood containing all 9 of the essential amino acids, which is our protein, and it's a complete plant-based protein. So if you're doing more of a plant-based diet, which is great for people with diabetes and for heart health, then this is going to be a great source of protein for your meals. And it's also considered naturally gluten-free. So it has no gluten in it. So if you're watching your gluten as well, that's another good reason. I like to tell people that you can replace quinoa in just about anything that you use rice for. So you can be a side dish of the quinoa instead of rice, or in like a stir fry or anything like that. You can substitute rice for the quinoa. It's going to be just about the same. It's going to cook about the same. So
You can actually substitute for pastas and couscous as well. And so a lot of grain-based products you can substitute it for. Get a little more protein and fiber.
oh, yeah. Okay, so they are just about ready. And we are going to mix it in with the quinoa that we have already cooked. And then as soon as everything else is ready, then we will go ahead and you can try it.
Play a game. How many of you guys watch Jeopardy? Or have watched it? Okay. We're going to play a version of Jeopardy. So we're going to split you up into categories of being active, healthy eating, reducing risk, and coping and solving. And then it goes up to $500. So team one, go ahead and choose category, and which one you like, what, how much amount, I guess. But you don't put the money. So check
Being
with you.
active.
Being active? Okay, for what? For 100?
300.
When being active, how often should you check your glucose? Is it only before activity, before and after activity, only after activity, or never?
Before and after.
Everyone, okay? That's correct. $300.
I'll take it.
Okay, team two. What would you guys like?
Yeah.
Okay, for how much?
For 400.
400? Okay.
Sure.
The question is, what kind of physical activity should you do? Activity is not important. Resistance, such as weights. Cardio, such as walking. Or cardio and resistance.
Cardio and.
Correct. Okay, team one. What would you guys like?
Being active for 500.
For 500, all right. The question is, you should eat before exercising if your glucose level is below what level? 100, 110, 125, or 140? You should eat, is it 1 hour before meals, immediately after meals, immediately before meals, or at bedtime? Immediately before meals? Okay. Correct. Okay, team one.
Healthy eating for 500.
Healthy eating for 500. How do carbs from beverages and food differ in raising blood glucose? I'm going to repeat that question one more time. How do carbs from beverages and food differ in raising blood glucose? Is it beverages lower glucose? Beverages raise glucose as much or more? Beverages do not impact glucose, or foods raise glucose more? So you're saying beverages raise glucose as much or more?
Yeah, that's a fair question. It depends on the beverage. If you're drinking a very sugary orange drink, as opposed to quinoa, yeah, it's going to raise it more. But
Okay.
if you're eating a chocolate cake, I mean, that's not a fair question.
I think they're
Yeah,
asking.
sure.
Sorry. I didn't make the question. But do you guys want to just go with, I'm assuming that it would be a sugary beverage. So would you say that would be the answer? Beverages raise glucose? Okay. And that's right. Yeah. Healthy eating, 500. Okay, team two.
Okay, we'll go for healthy eating for
Which types of fat are the least heart healthy? Is it saturated and trans fat, omega-3 fatty acids, polyunsaturated fats, monounsaturated fats? Correct. One.
Monitoring for 5.
Okay. Which of these is not a good way to record blood glucose test results? Write them down, memorize them, store them on your meter, download them to your computer.
Memorize.
Memorize? Correct. Team two. People with diabetes are at increased risk for losing sense of smell, infections and foot damage, losing sense of taste, or arthritis. Infections and foot damage? Okay. Correct. One. Helping and soaking, I'm assuming for 500? Okay. A good way to avoid diabetes burnout is to join a support group, communicate your feelings, keep a journal or blog, or all of these.
All of them.
Good job. Team one. To reduce your risk of blindness, you should have a dilated eye exam at least once per year, once every 5 years, once every 2 years, or once every 10 years. Once per year? Correct. Team one.
Everyone?
No, team one.
Monitoring? 400.
What level is considered low blood glucose, which is also called hypoglycemia? Is it 70, 80, 90, or 120? 70? Okay, team 2, medications. For 400? What should you do if you forgot to take your medication yesterday? Ask your healthcare provider, skip today as well, take twice your dosage today, take a little extra today. Ask your healthcare provider? Yes, that is correct. Okay, team 1.
The other 400, coping and solving.
How should you bring diabetes supplies, how should you bring diabetes supplies when traveling by plane? Put them in checked bags, carry them on board, mail them to your destination, leave your supplies at home. You're right. I know. Okay, team 2. When should you take oral medications? Whenever it is convenient, when you don't feel good, the same time each day, a few times a week. Correct. Team 1.
Well, taking meds. How about monitoring 300?
How often should you get an A1C test? Once a year? Never? Every 2 years? At least 2 times per year.
I would say 2 times a year.
At least 2 times a year? Okay, so that it's once a year, never, every 2 years, at least 2 times per year. Or 2 times a year. 2 times, okay. Correct. 2. How often should you check glucose when you are sick? Every 4 hours? Every 8 hours? Once per day? No need to check. Every 4 hours? Correct. Team 1, go ahead and choose your category and how much.
Healthy eating for 300.
How much fiber should you consume per day? Less than 10 grams, 15 to 20, 10 to 15, at least 25 to 30 grams.
Say the answer again.
Less than 10 grams, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, at least 25 to 30.
I would say at least 25 to 30.
Correct. Team 2. A good way to reduce your risk of kidney disease is to brush your teeth, consume less salt, avoid sun, bathe frequently. What was that? Avoid salt? Correct. Okay, team 1.
I thought you said we won. Any of them being active for 200? All of 300 are taken up, right?
Which of these is not true for physical activity? So which of these is not true? No pain, no gain. It can lower blood glucose. It can lower stress. It can lower cholesterol. Which of these is not true for physical activity?
No pain or gain.
Correct.
Do we win another helping of quinoa?
Are we doing second servings of quinoa?
Some quinoa.
Would you like some?
Yes,
Make some
please.
quinoa cookies, no fish left.
Quinoa.
Okay, team 2.
Well, you're welcome to come up here and bring us your plate.
Let's do healthy eating
Somebody got my plate.
Healthy eating for 200. Which type of food raises your glucose the most? Fats, protein, carbs, or salt? Correct. Team 1?
Monitoring, 200.
What is the standard target glucose level 2 hours after starting a meal? 120, 200, 180, or 250?
180.
Now, when do
Correct.
you know the harvest, when the flower comes on?
Team 2?
Let's do reducing risk for 200.
Which of these is not a good way to reduce cholesterol? Eat saturated fats, medications, physical activity, eat unsaturated fats.
From the main plant? I've always wondered about that.
Correct. Team 1?
That's all it comes as stuff, you know, you cut it on so far, you know, I was wondering about it. Okay.
Taking meds, 200.
Okay, this is-
How does insulin work? Moves glucose into your cells, hydrates your body, cleans your kidneys, burns fat.
Glucose into your cells.
You guys are so smart. You want to do coping and solving for 200? Okay. In case of a natural disaster, how many days of supply should you bring when traveling? Several days, 2 days, 5 days, or 7 days?
7 days.
Several days.
Oh, they missed one.
Okay, so.
This is several and several.
Okay, team 1. The question is gone because the answer's already there.
Have another question for 200?
Mm-mm.
They always do on Jeopardy.
This is like Jeopardy.
Being active for 100.
Sorry, what was that?
Being active
Okay.
for 100, just go right down the road.
At least how often should you be active? 2 days, 2 days per week, 3 days per week, 4 days per week, or 5 days per week?
5.
Correct.
These are flowers, they're not bulbs.
Team 2?
Yeah, you won't be able to replant.
Not these, because we cut them, so there's no room.
But like if you just cut that off,
Which of these is not one of the meal building blocks? Carbs, vitamin D, protein, fats. Which of these is not? Sorry.
Vitamin D.
you can just come
Correct.
out there and get some. It's at the aviary. The aviary.
Are you guys monitoring?
Yeah, it's off of Hardesty Road. Do you know where the Shaina Still Mill is? Upon Hardesty? Okay, so you go past that and then there's a big field and right.
What's the best way to know if your blood glucose is high? Watch how you feel, check your pulse, test your glucose level, check your appearance.
Check your glucose levels.
No, only Tuesday and Thursday
Correct.
from 3 to 7 is when you can go
If you're on the floor passed out, it might be.
out. We have some flyers.
Team 2.
Taking medications for 100.
What should you do with used insulin supplies? Throw them in the garbage, reuse them, recycle them, dispose them in a secure container. Reducing risk for 100.
Okay.
What is the standard target blood pressure for people with diabetes? 130 over 70, 140 over 70, 150 over 60, 140 over 80.
140 over 70.
Your team's saying something else, so I just want to make sure that.
What was the first one you said?
Okay, so 130 over 70, 140 over 70, 150 over 60, 140 over 80. So,
The target for people with diabetes.
what is the standard target blood pressure for people with diabetes?
130 over 70.
I can only mark what you say. since you're the team captain.
130 over 70.
130 over 70? It was 140 over 80.
We missed one, two. We only missed $100.
Okay, so last one, coping and solving. Diabetes can affect the sex life of which type of people? Men, women, neither, both men and women. Both? Correct.
That was too easy.
Okay, we're gonna add the scores up and let you guys know, so you guys can talk amongst yourselves. So team 1 is the winner. Good job, guys. Thanks for playing my version of Jeopardy.